Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 48, where I'm going to be talking about how you can effectively plan your writing. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing to say is don't panic, because you're probably thinking, how am I going to come up with a process to squeeze in 47 lessons worth of information into a quick 5-minute process or even shorter process before I start writing? Well, at the end of this video, I'm going to be giving you some teaching tips, and if you support me on Patreon, and please consider thinking about doing so if you don't already, then I'm going to be giving you a guide which you can download and that you can use to help plan your writing in the future. But why would you want to plan your writing in the first place? Well, there's a couple of basics that we've got to go through. First of all, everyone can recognize a disorganized message. Everyone can. Now they can recognize it in a number of different ways. It might be difficult to understand. It might be illogically ordered. It might be full of jargon. It might be written in a way that someone might speak. So it's written in a way that the reader can simply say, there's a mess in here, and how am I meant to work with it? And that comes on to the third point that you want to avoid. Don't make the reader do all of the work. Now, I've said this time and time again across my lessons, and this is what happens when you have a disorganized message. You're effectively saying to the reader, I've got all of my thoughts down on a piece of paper. I don't really care what it looks like or how it comes together. This is your job as the reader to try and figure it out. That approach has all of the signs of a terribly planned piece of writing, and therefore a terrible piece of writing. And the end result of that, not to mention annoying the reader, is that you make yourself look bad. If you don't accept any of the other points that I'm going to make in my video, carefully think about that one, because this is something that I'm sure you've experienced, where you've read something complicated and you've thought, what is the author trying to say here? And then you have related thoughts about the author. Well, that's how someone will relate or react to your writing. If your writing is an unplanned, disorganized mess and you send it to someone, that's how they will think about you as an author. Now, if you're a professional, that should be something you care deeply about. You want to present yourself in the best way possible. And now, more and more so nowadays, particularly with the advances in technology, more and more of our work is written in various different forms. So the chances of you writing to someone and therefore presenting yourself through your writing are getting bigger and bigger, getting more and more. So make sure you plan your writing in order to present yourself as well as you possibly can. Now, going back to some technical aspects of writing, some really simple ways to approach this. Just communicate the necessary information. Now, this is a first step that everyone can think about. We'll go through this in a bit more detail later on in the video. Think about your messages. Think about your strong verbs. Think about what is needed and what is not needed. Now, when you're speaking, you can talk about lots of different things and the listener will follow you. If you're writing, you want to avoid that approach. Think only about the necessary information and use simple sentence structures to communicate complex vocabulary. Once again, this is something that I've said over and over again. The vocab might be complex, and that's okay. But if you communicate that complex vocabulary in complex grammatical structures, you are asking the reader to do a lot. But it is possible to communicate that same complex vocabulary in a simple sentence structure. And in doing so, you are presenting yourself as someone who can explain complicated things in a very clear way, and you are helping the reader. So, by way of example, I just want to show you this. This is a text which has not been planned. Okay, this is written down as someone is simply thinking. They're just throwing ideas down onto a piece of paper. There are a number of bad things about this piece of writing. If we were going to read this, and if you want to, pause the video now and think about how you could shorten that down. But if we were going to redraft that, focusing on just the main essential points, thinking about sentence structure and communicating messages in a clear way, we would get something like this. If I click on the screen, we need to talk about the remaining details of the project. The client has unexpectedly shortened the deadline for us to complete. Don't forget the new department manager will take the meeting, so just over behind my shoulder here, so don't be late. And that's, let me just move myself out of the way so you can just see that. There we go, so don't be late. Professional, straightforward, to the point, easy to read, simple sentences, simple messages. Everyone understands that the first time they read it. Compare that to the monstrosity that you see above, and you can see the advantages straight away of taking just a few minutes to plan your writing. Okay, so what are the teaching tips? The first one is start. Okay, you have to form a new habit, and the only way that you can do that is by starting somewhere. And when you start the process, it will become easier and easier and faster and faster. And as you become more aware of your style, you can adapt that planning process to fit your style. As I said, if you're following me on Patreon, I'm going to be going through some things for you to think about. You can download my guide. You'll see this just after I go through the teaching tips. I want you to start keeping a pad of paper and pencil near your keyboard. Writing down is always faster than typing. You come up with an idea, you need to put it somewhere. How can I include this in my planning process? What should I be writing about? What's my main message? The third point here, use a pad of paper, quickly scribble it down, okay? Use old-fashioned technology to help you communicate in new forms of technology. So start off with what's my main message, okay? Take a deep breath, just think, what am I trying to communicate? Okay, what's that main message that has got to be understood? Write that down on a piece of paper. Then start coming up with all associated or supporting points and think, going back to that lesson right at the beginning of the course about sentence structure, I think it was lesson number 9, 1 point per sentence, okay? Just write down 1 message per sentence, 1 message per sentence, 1 message per sentence. That's exactly what I did just a few seconds ago. It's not infantile, it's not too simple, it's not unprofessional, quite the opposite. It shows clarity of thought and it's easy to understand. As you're going through that process of writing down the messages and what's the main message and what's the supporting message, think about the logic, think about the order, think about how the things fit together. Don't just write sentences that exist as separate islands. Use connecting devices, linkers or transitions, however you want to call them, to connect the sentences together. That comes in the planning process, okay? As I said, as you do this once, it might take you some time. If you do it a second time and a third time, you'll see that the process gets faster and faster. Particularly in the world of business, you'll find that you get into the habit of repeating messages. Okay, and the more that you repeat messages, the faster that process of planning those messages become. So the more you do it, the faster and easier it will be. The end result is that it will massively improve your writing. Okay. Your plan, in effect, becomes your first draft. And we know that your first draft is always the worst draft. Okay? You should never ever send out your first draft. Send out a second draft, third draft, fourth draft. Okay? Never send out your first draft. And if your planning is your first draft, when you're typing it and you see the message on the screen, already you're writing your second draft. Already your message is that much better. And as I said here, Patreon users, continue watching the video and download my free writing guide. If you're watching on YouTube, LinkedIn or on Facebook, here is where I'm going to stop the video. So I'd encourage you now to think about joining me on Patreon, where you've got access to my guides, my answer videos, the questions that you can download all the way through the course and get access to a whole lot more. So I'll say goodbye to everyone on social media now, and my viewers on Patreon, I'll see you in just a second.